Well, good day, everyone. My name is Ryan Evans, and I am a certified evolutionary astrologer with the Stephen Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology, certified master first class in their system. I've also been trained by greats like Pat Kaluza and have extensively read plenty of other folks. So the title of my talk today is Navigating the Storm: How to Consciously Engage Hard Hits from the Outer Planets. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk to both the astrologists out there who are playing around with their chart and who are studying it and who are working on charts of their friends and families, and to you astrologers who are professionals and charging money, and your clients come to you and say, oh, what am I going to do about my Pluto square? What am I going to do about my Uranus opposition? And so here are going to be some great tools, I think, to learn how to consciously engage these, whether we are an astrologer, an astrologist, or we have friends who are one of those. We can say, hey, I saw this webinar and you're supposed to tell me that I'm supposed to break free, or the like. So here we go. Ready? The first thing that I'm going to say that is necessary to do when we have any hard hit from an outer planet. Ready? Here's the first thing we do. We take some sage and we burn it, and we pray to the little Lord baby Jesus in the manger to save us from our hell or our torment or our suffering. Yes, that is definitely one thing that we can do. And often that can work. But there are things that we can do as astrologers that are more consciously engaging than simple prayer. But I will put prayer at probably the top of the list, because when it comes down to it, if we are in suffering, if we are in crisis, if we are in hell, if we are in torment, if we are in complete and utter rage, what we need to do more than anything else is have faith that this too will pass. The second, somewhat tongue-in-cheek suggestion I would like to offer is buy flowers. Surround yourself with flowers. And that's not just because I'm an organic cut flower grower, or have been in the past. It is because Harvard, Texas A&M, and Rutgers University have all done empirical studies that show that flowers make you happy. So, number one, pray. Number two, get yourself out in nature. But what can we do astrologically? What happens when Pluto is squaring your sun? Here's an example. I know someone, not personally, they passed on long before I was born, but I know someone who entered into a very strong, very, very deadly power struggle when Pluto was squaring his sun. And in fact, this whole transit, the whole time this transit went on, this individual had insurmountable rage. He had insurmountable fear. What could we have told him to make things different for him? Pluto was squaring his sun. And we go up to him and we say, Adolf Hitler, Pluto's squaring your sun throughout this whole world war. Don't you think you might want to cool it a little bit? Well, Lord knows he did not cool it. And look what happened to him. Now, I'm not going to suggest that everyone who is having a transit of Pluto to the sun, is going to become a megalomaniac. However, these things are possible if we do not engage them consciously. So how do we do that? Here it comes. We have to, number one, understand what the planet wants that is being triggered. Pluto squares the sun. Pluto opposes the moon. Uranus inconjoins our Mercury. What is it that our sun and our moon and our Mercury, what is that really about? Moreover, number two, we have to have a very deep understanding of what the triggering, the transiting planet wants. Every single archetype in astrology has a purpose. It is, there are no mistakes. Pluto squared Hitler's sun for a reason. Dude, are you sure you want to do this? Dude, are you sure you want to do this? Dude, are you sure you want to do this? Time and time again. And what did he do? The opposite. So we have to understand what the triggering planet is wanting and what the triggered planet is wanting. Moreover, we have to understand the root core of our chart. For those of us who are astrologers, we have to understand the very basic core of who our client is and what their life purpose is. What is their nodal story? What Pluto wound are they healing in this life? What Uranian trauma are they overcoming? And so when we come to the base root prediction of the individual's chart, Pluto squaring the sun is going to be different for everyone. And so once we have that basic understanding, we then look, what is the aspect then wanting? A conjunction wants something different than a square. A square wants something out of us different than an opposition or an inconjunction. So as astrologers, it's very important that we understand the nature of the aspect. Pluto square the sun, Pluto opposite the sun. It's both they're both Pluto and they're both about the sun, but a square, an opposition, they're different beasts. So we need to know what it is that they are asking. So what are the evolutionary intentions here? That's the basic thing that we have to look at when we come to a place where we must navigate the storm. So let's jump into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through our planets, and I'm going to talk about briefly what each planet wants. What are we to meditate on if the sun is getting triggered or our Jupiter is triggered? What's the best of all possible intentions to have? And what are the shadows that we need to avoid during this trigger? Pluto squared Hitler's sun. He needed to avoid megalomania. What did he do? He tried to take over the world. Look what happened to him. Oops. If he had half of the astrologers that the conspiracy theorists say that he had, I think that they could have told him, hey dude, this isn't going to work out very good for you. Nevertheless, let us engage. Something hits our sun. Pluto square, Uranus opposition. For sake of discussion right now, it doesn't matter, because what our sun wants, what we need, it's about what our values are, our core values, our core self, our core mission, our core purpose. So anything triggers our sun, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that I am really about? Who am I really? Some of these Some of these very hard hits from outer planets make us question that. We have no idea who we are. And so quite often, something comes to trigger our sun, we are being asked to get very clear in our definition of self. And in that, we need to resist the urge to become excessively arrogant. We need to resist the urge to be insensitive. It's all about us with the sun. It's all about me. So why should I care about anybody else? Well, that could cause us to act in ways that are less than conscious. And what we're going for here is conscious engagement. So yes, something hits our sun, we have to put our evolutionary needs first. We have to be strong and resolute. Ultimately, we have to know, or we are being asked to define exactly who we are. Something hits our moon. Again, Pluto opposition, Uranian square. Anytime something hits our moon, we are being asked to come into our heart and trust what is in here and filter through all of the fear, the sorrow, the anger, the confusion, and come to the truth of what the heart needs. So whenever our moon is triggered, we are being asked, it's a good practice to contemplate what is happiness, what feels right. Pluto opposing the moon, that's big. How can I stay happy? We come back to the root prediction, moon and Taurus in the 3rd house, whatever it is. Oh, I need to go for a walk in nature. Moon and Taurus in the 3rd house. There's happiness for me. So anytime moon gets triggered, meditate on what the heart needs. So intend to search through the muck. Know that it might be a journey of filtering through that fear, that sorrow, that anger. So we must trust our deepest instincts when our moon is triggered, and at the same time, resist the temptation to go into those hyper emotional places. Must resist the temptation to whine and complain. Sounds kind of easy, right? But with the moon, we are feeling so much. And the more we feel that heaviness, that sadness, that the sorrow or the fear take over us, the more that's what we're going to see. So whenever the moon is triggered, come back to the heart, try to feel something somewhere that gives us safety. Again, just standard out of the blue example, moon and Taurus in the 3rd house. That moon, we'll say, is conjoined by Uranus. Time to find really new, authentic ways of being happy. So let's move on. Our Mercury gets triggered. We must be very clear with our thinking and resist the urge to go into excessive opinion or allow the mind to keep chattering. It will distract us and take us away from what Mercury is really wanting when it gets triggered: clear, unbiased perception. And when our perception is clear, then we can follow the clues. We can follow the omens. We can pay more attention to the synchronicities that occur. Hey, Neptune's opposing the Mercury. And that sounds really great, Ryan, but I can't see anything. In fact, it's so foggy, I can't see my hand in front of my face. Then don't use your eyes. Then listen. Then use your other senses, your smell, sometimes even taste. But when one perceptive function feels cloudy, try to open it to the others. Because when we keep that open, then again, those clues, omens, and synchronicities present themselves to us. So listen, break up your routines, try something new, ask for help, have conversations. Again, anything triggering our Mercury. Venus, something triggers our Venus. And Venus is about our ability to find and maintain peace and equilibrium in ourselves. That stems from a place of valuing ourselves and loving ourselves. So something hits our Venus, and it is time to ask ourselves what it is that we really love. What is it that does give us peace? Who am I really? How can I love myself? Uranus comes to oppose one's Venus. That could sound really scary. We could look at it 2 years prior to the event and project all of this fear onto it. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen in 2 years, in 1 year, in 6 months? Okay, here it comes. Uranus transits happen right on time. So it's going to happen in 3 days. What's going on? Uranus is going to be asking for a breakthrough in loving yourself every time. So Venus gets triggered. The question is, can you love yourself? The question is, can you see that you are really worth it? Can you find your peace? Can you trust? Can you value other people? Can you ask for help? Who out there must you engage with? And so we must intend, when our Venus is triggered, to trust wisely, and maybe find some help from our friends, and maybe even some powerful alliances can come from that. If we're going to feel like we are about this big, we are not going to be able to reach out or even receive, if someone else is reaching out, energy from other people. And so anytime our Venus is triggered, we have to come back to loving ourselves. Shadow Venus can easily devolve into manipulation. Oh, I don't have enough, therefore let me extract what I can from you. Shadow Venus. Oh, I'm feeling unworthy, therefore I'm going to project all of my stuff onto you. We have to resist those urges. They very well may happen. So all we can do is get conscious of that, apologize, dust ourselves off, and try again the next day. So our Mars is triggered. And with Mars, we are always asked one question, and it's pretty much one question alone. Will we have courage or fear? Will we be the warrior or the victim? Will we be fierce in our protecting what is worth protecting, or are we out of fear going to be defensive? So with Mars, any time that it is triggered, we are asking to be in our personal power. We are asking to have courage. We are being asked to stare into the eyes of the dragon and still be able to draw our sword and advance towards it. Because, again, the shadow that can occur if Mars is triggered and we do not engage it consciously, then we will very easily defend our rage. We will very easily seek vengeance. We will very easily, on the other side of that, run and hide. Blame somebody else, shoot them in the back, and keep running. So your Mars is triggered by anything with any aspect. Can I stay in my personal power? Can I stay in my strength? And knowing that the root of that personal power, the root of that strength must come from love. Because if it doesn't come from love, it will come from fear. That's how Mars works. Mars, when we look at it through the lens of relationship and we engage it in terms of sexual passion, that without love, it can be so messy. It can get us into a lot of trouble. So Mars, I like to think of Mars, the root of Mars, the seed that Mars germinated from, came from love. And so if we do Mars right, we are incredibly loving, we are incredibly passionate, and we combine them into whatever we consider personal power. And that is what we're being asked when Pluto opposes it, when Uranus inconjoins it. So when we come to the end of the inner planets and we see the asteroid belt, and in order to get to the real yummy, juicy power that Jupiter has there in temptation for us, Mars has to have the courage to go through or jump over that asteroid belt. So we get the courage with Mars, jump over, and we hit Jupiter. We get to Jupiter, something triggers our Jupiter. What is our natal Jupiter asking? Again, any trigger. Jupiter is asking us to see the possible, to stay in the good reality as opposed to the bad reality. Jupiter is ultimately asking us to have faith, to have optimism, to realize our potential, and to realize our purpose. Anything triggers our Jupiter. That is the root of what we must have, what we must find within us in order to navigate a Saturn square to it or a Uranian opposition to it. We must say to ourselves, okay, well, again, let me dust myself off and have faith that I'm not going to underestimate my potential here. Maybe a Saturn square, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Oh, everything looks hopeless. Oh, Saturn square in my Jupiter. Oh, Saturn's depression. A square is a challenge. Jupiter to my faith. Oh, gosh. What's being asked? What's the evolutionary intention? The evolutionary intention is to say, thank you, Saturn, for helping mitigate any inflation that could have occurred. Thank you, Saturn, for keeping it real. And this is my purpose, and this is my mission, and I am not underestimating my potential despite your Saturn blocks. So Jupiter says, let's go. Now, we could also say, oh yeah, Saturn, you're trying to teach me reality? You're trying to show me that I shouldn't spend all my money the second I get it? Well, yep, forget you. Jupiter can have that kind of attitude too. And if we take pomposity or self-importance a little too far during a Saturn square to it, Saturn is going to show us the limitations of that kind of attitude. And that might be the reason why Saturn might square our Jupiter at times. So we get that in check. And we say, okay, well, it's not like all so super big, but man, it could work. How could it work? Wow, let me have faith through this. Saturn squaring my Jupiter, the test of faith. Okay, I'm going to stay up. I'm going to stay in the good reality. So anytime our Jupiter is triggered, we are being asked to maintain our alignment with our purpose and our mission and those things in our life which make us feel expansive. Now, Saturn. Come to Saturn. Oh, Pluto's opposing my Saturn. Happens once in a lifetime. Oh, Pluto's squaring my Saturn. Happens once in a lifetime. Oh, you can feel that heaviness, right? Because something's hitting Saturn, and Saturn's already really hard. Saturn's already asking us to be a grown-up. Saturn is already saying, release that which is superfluous and do the things you have to do. And, well, that's how we consciously engage Saturn, is that whenever our Saturn is triggered, we are being asked to take all of our feelings and put it on a piece of paper. And these are all my feelings, and this is what's so important, and none of that has any bearing on the reality of the situation. Saturn says, I appreciate the fact that we might have these emotions, but I'd like to show you the limitations of that. What must you do to get real? What must you do to still be happy while doing whatever it is that is so incredibly difficult? So our Saturn gets triggered. We buck up little camper. We take our emotions, express them on the paper, burn it, throw it away, let it go, and then get ourselves together and move forward confidently, deliberately, patiently, and maturely. Saturn's one of the greatest things I'm here to learn, so I'm saying this and I'm like, okay, Rye, remember that next time your Saturn's triggered. So when Saturn is triggered, to stay focused on the goals, maybe the depression comes in. Maybe the feeling of like it will never end comes in. And we feel heavy. And we feel deeply pressed. Saturn says, see that top of the mountain? That's freedom. If you want to get up there, you're going to have to keep walking. I don't want to keep walking, but wait a second, it's Saturn. And so therefore, what I want is inconsequential to this, because what I really want is that prize up at the top of the hill. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it. You know why? Because it's worth it. Now, Saturn also can say, when it's triggered, what is not worth it? What is simply an unrealistic or an unnecessary goal? And so our Saturn gets triggered, and it is time for us to get real. And again, the shadow we can very easily devolve into despair, feeling failure, feeling that it's impossible, and all very real feelings. but it's not ultimately what Saturn wants from us. Saturn is going to give us that. Thanks, Saturn. Saturn's going to give us that until we can say, oh, thank you, Saturn, as opposed to, oh, thanks, Saturn. So practice that. The next time your Saturn gets triggered or Saturn triggers something of yours, you say, hey, thanks, Saturn. All right, let's build something. Let's make this work. Is it worth it? Oh, after an incredible amount of work, yes, it's worth it. All right, then quit whining. Thanks, Saturn. What did I say? Oh, okay. So Uranus, our natal Uranus gets triggered. And anytime our natal Uranus gets triggered, we are being asked to make a breakthrough in, very specifically, in exactly who we are, where we shed parts of us that are inauthentic, that society has projected upon us, that family has projected upon us, that we have allowed friends or whomever to project upon us, and we wear that mask and we go about the world and we do our thing, and then we might all of a sudden say, this is not my beautiful house. And we might say, where does that highway go to? And we might say, oh my God, what have I done? Anytime our Uranus is triggered, we have to always come to our authentic self. Who am I really? What is it that I really want? If I didn't have to make money, if I didn't have responsibilities, what would I really be doing? What would I really be thinking? If my family wasn't completely superimposing their belief system on me, saying you must be this religion or else you're never going to get your inheritance, and so we stay in that religion, but it's not who we are, but we want the inheritance, but it's not who we are, and eventually something's got to break. Either the parents are going to have to understand that you like your hair purple and green and red, not necessarily in that order, or all at the same time, but that's who you are. And they really have to understand it. And sometimes we have to give up the inheritance in order to be exactly who we are. And so maybe our Uranus is getting triggered. And so we are going to stand on the precipice of the unknown. And so when we consciously engage a hard hit to our natal Uranus, we have to accept the fact that what lies on the other side is brand new territory, that change is inevitable, and that we must allow for that change. We can go shadow on that. We can be cold, we can be insensitive, we can just be a rebel without a clue. We can just act out or dissociate. All of those are available to us. We can go into poor me. We can be the victim. Sure. Well, that's available to us. Is that the most conscious response? No. Most conscious response for our Uranus getting hit is to allow for the change. Neptune. Ready? This is all we can do with Neptune. There it is. Nothing you can say. Not much you can do. Just allow. The only thing that you can do when one gets into something triggering our Neptune is, if we are religious, we say, not my will, but thy will, O Lord. And if we are not religious, we Okay, the universe is obviously knowing what it's doing because it has gotten us this far. And so Neptune gets hit. We're being asked to open up our consciousness to that place. We are being asked to, amidst the fog, amidst the uncertainty, amidst the not knowing, to still have a certainty and have a knowing that ultimately there is meaning and reason and purpose in this life, even if we can't understand it immediately. And so we enter into realms like compassion and universal love, where we open to letting go of the ego self that is suffering and apply Buddhist principles. You get a hit to your Neptune, you say, okay, number one, all life is suffering. Number two, what am I desiring here that is causing my suffering? I want to be happy. Well, no, you're not supposed to be happy. You're going to suffer. Okay, fine. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. 1,000 times saying that, and the happiness comes back. Because what we're doing then is we're making time for our spirit. We're making time for our creativity. And so we need to be patient as the vision congeals. And that's the way Neptune works. And I could talk for an hour and a half on this one, but Neptune is, I like to think of Neptune as the realm that precedes our own individual imagination. Like there is a greater imagination out there, capital I. It's like anything that will ever be invented or worked into a piece of art or created, it exists on the other side of this membrane. And we as humans have to sit here and hold space for whatever vision, whatever magic that is on the other side of that membrane to coalesce, to congeal, and like raindrop come to form and get heavy enough so that it falls on us. We call that grace. We call that inspiration. We call that creativity. And so Neptune gets triggered. We must create space for allowing a vision to coalesce that may not necessarily be in a place of coalescing. So we must be patient. And in the meantime, we can freak out. In the meantime, the mind wants to know. In the meantime, the sun wants to be. In the meantime, the moon wants to feel. And so what are we supposed to do in the meantime? Well, how about we go escape? How about we just forget about it and go and imbibe a whole bunch of stuff and pretend that our problems don't exist? Well, there's shadow Neptune. That's not going to help us. We're going to numb ourselves. And so when the inspiration comes, when the vision comes, it's not going to be there. So there's a square to our Neptune. So let's just say, how about this one? Our progressed Mercury is squaring our Neptune. We don't know. Where's the answer? I can't find the answer. I don't see the answer anywhere. It's because the answer has yet to manifest. It's up in imagination right now. Hold the space for it, and it'll come. Pluto. Everybody braces themselves. Why? Pluto is a wonderful, magnificent, beautiful, beautiful planet You know, the recent pictures of Pluto, there's a heart on it. I love it. I love the symbology. What does Pluto want? It doesn't want to destroy us. It doesn't want to maim us. Pluto wants us to be conscious of that which we may not be conscious of. Pluto wants us to engage the darkness, engage the wound, engage the fear, the shame, or the rage, or the desolation, and literally melt off those pieces of us that are holding us from the opposite things that of what I just said, of the power, of the strength, of the meaning and purpose of existence. So when our Pluto is triggered, we must do two things. We must get to the bottom of whatever psychological, emotional, even past life conundrum that the Pluto is asking us to be conscious of. And at the same time, our Pluto is triggered, it's asking us to see into our deeper spiritual nature, the reasons of our existing, what our highest destiny really is. And so with Pluto in the shadow, we can easily say it's not us. It's that person, it's that thing, it's the government, it's the Russians, it's Trump, it's whatever it is. There it is. It has nothing to do with me. Pluto is always, always about us healing our wounds through conscious engagement, no matter how dirty or muddy or ugly or how much shame we have over it. It's asking us to be liberated. Here's a great way I like to look at Pluto. You know, the asteroid belt separating the inner planets from the outer planets. Well, Pluto is the gatekeeper of another realm of objects separating us, the solar system, from deep space. And so if we want to have some sort of galactic connection, if we want to have some sort of Neptunian feeling that we are all connected in the universe, Neptune sends out a transmission. It's not going to go anywhere until it gets through Pluto. So we can have all of our Neptunian spiritual revelations, and we can say that, you know, ultimately, you know, Neptune, I have liberated myself from desire and attachment, and I'm following the eightfold path of understanding and intention and speech and action and livelihood and effort and mindfulness and concentration. But until we really do those things, and we have to use Pluto to really follow that path. In order to be really mindful all the time, we have to use our Pluto. Pluto is triggered. We are asking to be incredibly mindful on something that we may not currently be mindful of. Here's another one. Our ascendant. Our ascendant gets triggered. What's being asked? Well, our ascendant gets triggered, and it's like, well, who are we really? How do we define ourselves in relation to the world? How do we, you know, what's the style in which I can present myself? Maybe Pluto opposes that, and some stuff is coming up in the world, the descendant, the world is pushing in on us. And here's our ascendant, how we push in push out into the world, our ascendant gets triggered, we're being asked to clearly define what that style is. So can we release attachment to old ways of being, to old ways of self-expression which no longer serve us? Our nodes get triggered. Transiting south node comes into oppose your natal south node. Our nodes get triggered. You know what we're being asked? We're being asked to evolve. We are being asked to take a look at all of our past life stories, all of our habitual patterns, all of our really comfortable old ways of doing things that might work just great, but are keeping us in an endless cycle, repeating our karma over and over and over again. Anytime our nodal axis gets triggered, we're being asked to be very aware of what that story is. South node in Taurus, and well, let's do something current. South node in Cancer, Pluto comes to oppose that. Oh my gosh, Pluto's opposing the south node. Oh, what's being asked? We are being asked to get very, very, very conscious of all of our past lives. They might be culminating and percolating up into this very moment in order for it to be healed. So we give incredible thanks for the awareness that Pluto can bring of our karmic story, of the tension between our karma and our dharma. Pluto opposes the south node. It's on the north node. We are being asked to embody Pluto in the positive, while at the same time understanding the most beneficial aspects of the talents inherent in the south node. Whew, that's big. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of information, and we can build on that. And those that I just described have been our natal planets and any triggers to them. Now let's talk a little bit about the outer planets by transit. Jupiter comes along, spins around. It's going to trigger all your stuff by conjunction once every 12 years, by square twice every 12 years, opposition once every 12 years. Why? What's the purpose? What's the cycle? What's the rhythm of Jupiter? Again, Jupiter always wants to teach us how to stay up, but not too far up, because if you remember, was it Sesame Street or the Electric Company? There's the chef at the top of the stairs. He's like, 14 blueberry and custard pies. I know I totally dated myself. You millennials may not get it. And then the guy tumbles down the stairs. But hey, he's got 14 blueberry custard pies. But Jupiter can sometimes say, hey, I've got 14 blueberry custard pies, and whoops. So Jupiter, by transit, is asking to, on one side of the equation, check our overconfidence. Is there some ego happening here? Are you kind of like, oh, hey, it's all good. Everything's just all good. Everything's just perfect and peachy keen. Oh, those were just gunshots. It's not a problem. Well, sometimes Jupiter can make things bigger. In fact, that's probably one of the main reasons and purposes for transiting Jupiter, to inflate things. Why? So we can see it more clearly. So Jupiter on one side, it's going to inflate things. It doesn't matter what it's squaring, opposing, and conjoining. It's saying, hey, is there some overconfidence here that needs checking? On the other side of that, maybe we're feeling underconfident. Maybe we're feeling weak. Maybe we're feeling like we just need a break. Well, sometimes a very hard hit from Jupiter to any one of our planets, a square, an opposition, an inconjunct, sometimes it might be like, okay, here you are, you asked for it. And then we can be like, oh, geez, did I really ask for it? Oh, gosh, oh. Well, you asked for it. Okay, we say from a Jupiter transit, let's stay open to the possibilities. What are my potentials here? What's my best of all possible lives? How good can I imagine it? So make no mistake, a hard hit from Jupiter is not always peaches and roses. No, a hard hit from Jupiter could just make whatever the problem or the conundrum is that much bigger. So we have to we have to have faith, and we have to stay in the good reality. Which brings us to Saturn. Nobody likes a Saturn transit. So what do you say? Oh, I'm an astrologist. I'm just kind of watching my chart, Oh, look, in a year, Saturn's going to oppose my moon. Oh, great. Oh, boy, I can already imagine what that's going to be. Oh, geez. And you see how I'm already creating my reality by the words that I'm using? Saturn wants us every single time to sift through the superfluous and focus on what's real. Anytime Saturn does anything, square, opposition, inconjunct, even the trine, sextile, and conjunction, Saturn is wanting to fuse reality, maturity, practicality, and functionality into whatever the stimulus, into whatever natal planet is being stimulated. So can we push aside fear? Saturn comes to oppose our moon, a possible aspect of depression. We are being asked in that situation, can we still be happy? No matter what the challenge is from Saturn, and chances are there's going to be some tests, there's going to be some hard stuff there. And so the conscious engagement is, can we understand that there is reason, that there's meaning, that there's purpose, and that we're building something? Saturn and the square aspect are always looking to build. They're looking to build foundations, solid foundations for whatever our dreams are. And sometimes Saturn will say, I want to build a foundation, but I'm not building it on quicksand. Nope. And we could be like, oh, but I want it right there. I really want it right there. Oh, please, Saturn, I want it right there. Saturn's going to say, I'm not going to build a house on quicksand. No. I understand the view and the neighbors, location, everything like that. That's all great, but it is impractical. And so we have to get on our knees and pray to the Lord Saturn, give thanks to the Lord Saturn for its wisdom and its maturity, because ultimately it wants to give us what we want. It just wants it to work, wants it to last, wants it to be real. So how do we survive a hard hit from Saturn? We grow the heck up. And of course, I'm talking to myself here, as much as I am you. I mean, these are things that I'm learning, of course, as well as I'm speaking. In fact, probably why I'm speaking them is that I get to, learn these mo beta. So Saturn hits, we're being asked to grow up, no matter what. Yeah, I know it's hard. I know it's challenging. Is it worth it? Then go through it. And if it's not worth it, then let it go and cut your losses. Very simple, straightforward. Saturn says, and doesn't even say, I'm sorry. Saturn says, no, you do not qualify for this mortgage. Oh, but I really want the house. Saturn's like, okay, just get out of my office. It's not that Saturn's heartless. It's that you just can't afford the payment. I mean, it's really simple. Uranus comes along. Okay. Uranus, you can see it 2 years away. Uranus is going to oppose my Venus. Uranus is going to oppose my Mercury. Uranus is going to oppose my Sun. And we watch and we wait. Okay, what unexpected event? Who's going to get in the accident? Is the house going to burn down all of a sudden? Oh, geez, expect the unexpected with Uranus. Uranus is always asking for breakthrough. Bottom line. Uranus opposes the Venus. Can you have a breakthrough in your self-worth? You have a breakthrough in your relationships. Oh, but I'm used to projecting all my stuff in relation onto the other in relationships. Well, here comes Uranus that says, well, if you keep doing that, things are going to explode. So you need a breakthrough on maintaining your own self-love and not projecting it out there. Uranus comes to square your Mercury. And maybe we have some incredibly strong opinion, the way that we have always seen it. I mean, it's blue. These lilacs are purple. This is a morel mushroom, and there is no arguing with me. Well, maybe this is actually the Morschella esculenta, but maybe we didn't know. Maybe we picked it in the fall, and maybe it was a false morel, and maybe it's poisonous. And maybe in our thinking that we know everything, we take a bite out of it and we have to get rushed to the hospital. Now, that could be an unfortunate event that could be indicated by that aspect. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to get very clear with our thinking. We're supposed to maybe second and third and fourth guess ourselves. Or here's another thing. Maybe that's all we do. Maybe all we do is second guess ourselves. Uranus comes to transit our Mercury, saying, hey, wait a second, it's time that you really know that you know what you know. And so Uranus transit, can we break free? Can we break through? Can we not submit to definitions of us from the outside, but stay true to our own personal definition of self? So Uranus, the teacher, always asks us for change. Change is scary. Change is stressful. It's uncomfortable. But it is a law. If there were not change, then we would still be single-celled organisms down at the thermal vents at the bottom of the ocean. So change has to occur. Evolution has to occur. A Uranus transit comes along, and to consciously engage that, we must allow for the change. We must trust. We must understand that unpredictability is sometimes the price of freedom. Neptune comes along. Neptune squares, opposes something. And again, this is what we can do. Have faith. Not my will, but thy will, O Lord. Okay, there's got to be reason and purpose for this mystery in this universe. I don't know why we're here, man, but I know what love feels like. And as long as I keep coming back to that, then there's going to be hope. Neptune comes to transit anything. We are being taught the value of transcendence, the value of acceptance, the value of gratitude, and the value of compassion. Hey, Neptune comes in to oppose our sun, once in a lifetime event, and maybe we have lost all identification with ourselves and we have no idea who we are. We have no idea where we're going. Say, where's Neptune now? Say we're Virgo, and we're used to things being orderly and effective and functional and predictable, and Neptune comes along and washes that all away. That Virgos in general right now are being asked to have faith, being asked to understand that there is a higher creativity, a higher spirituality, higher imagination, capital I, that of which we are just a channel, we're just a part. And so the more we can clear ourselves to be open to that, oh, that's what Neptune wants. To release, to let go, to have faith in the universe. And then we do that, boom, the inspiration comes, the vision, the creative burst comes. But we have to get out of our own way. Neptune says, get out of your own way. Not by waking up and, rolling a big old Bob Marley and doing that all day, every day, nonstop in the corner of the room or out under a tree. That's just escapism. Using whatever means necessary to access that place. Sometimes we have to do that and go to that place of, okay, what's the next vision? Spirit, Lord, imagination, tree, flower, I'm ready, great mystery. So Neptune comes along. There you go. You have but one choice. Confusion and escapism, or compassion and acceptance, surrender. Here comes a big one. How to navigate a Pluto transit. Pluto wants something. It exists for a reason, and it is not to create pain and suffering in our life. It is not to totally rip us apart. It's not to create pain or rage or shame or any. It is to make us aware of where we may be holding our shame or our rage or our frustration at life, our nihilistic tendencies. So Pluto comes along, once in a lifetime event, squared Hitler's sun. Dude, are you sure? Look at all the pain you're causing. Look at all the hell that you're creating. Are you sure you want to do this? Blah, he says. Yeah, I do. Oh, 'cause I have so much anger. 'Cause I want control. 'Cause I want to be the most powerful. So Pluto squares Hitler's son throughout World War II, and he acted unconsciously. And it ended in his demise, unless he's living comfortably in Rochester, Minnesota as a barber or something. That's possible. I wouldn't necessarily put it past our government, but that I digress. So Pluto wants us to heal our soul. Is that easy? No. Is it necessary? Yeah. Because if we don't, and Pluto's squaring our sun, and we're feeling Hitler-esque, and we're not healing our soul, then chances are we have a greater possibility of finding the problem in the Jew or the gypsy. See how that worked for him? Oh, I'm not here to heal myself. The only way to heal myself is by destroying everybody else and taking control of the world. Yes, yes. No, unconscious Pluto. So Pluto comes along, says, what's your purpose? What is really important? And that's healing our soul, healing our ancient wound, so that we don't act in ways like Hitler did in World War II. So lastly, and very quickly, what do the aspects want of us? Oh, it's a square. Oh, it's an opposition. Well, it's a conjunction. I guess it could be good or bad. I mean, Pluto's coming to conjoin my sun. I mean, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Well, anytime we're looking at a conjunction, we're looking at a fusion of energies. We're looking at the two or more planets that are being hit. We're looking at them becoming Stephen Forrest calls it a meta planet. Sun Pluto, a Pluto sun. Uranus comes to conjoin your sun. You are being asked to be Uranian. Pluto hits our sun, we're being asked to be Plutonian. In the positive, not in the shadow, because if we are Plutonian in our shadow, Pluto comes and hits our sun by conjunction. And we are Plutonian, whoa, we could really upset a lot of people with our desire for control. So what about the square? A square, this is the way I like to see a square. You're going in a direction, and then you can't. You have to make a 90-degree turn. It's like a river that comes up against a boulder, and it'll splash. And you could sit there all day going, oh, there's a boulder in my way, there's a boulder. But it's going to take, well, not so much for the river, but for us, it'll take effort to redirect our course and make a change, go in a different direction. Oh, but I really wanted to go this way. And the more we want to go that way, the more it's going to hurt. And so a square requires an effort to change our course. So flow is upset. And so therefore, the pressure is in learning new things. Learning new things is always uncomfortable, especially if it's like put in our face, and especially if we're not like, oh, yay, excited. Oh, it's a Saturn square, woohoo. I mean, try it sometime. Next time Saturn squares one of your planets, try having the attitude of, all right, we're going to be working. We're going to be building something. And it's going to be hard, but you know what? The square, after that square is over, we're going to look back on it and we're going to say, yeah, we did something. trine or a sextile, that can slip past us like a ship in the night. Oh, wait, what? I knew I should have bought the lottery ticket. Oh, well. Somebody next door won. Oh, that could have been me. There's shadow trine. But the square, there's unrelenting pressure to change and grow and develop. So to consciously engage a square of anything says that we must do Saturnian work. Saturn square our Saturn, the work of working our work. And so what do? Not get hyper emotional. Tell that to a Cancer rising. Well, Cancer rising, your greatest work is to do Saturn right. So, how about the opposition? Very, very fun one, because one's going in that direction and one's going in that direction. And I want passion and I want peace. I want to play and I want to work. I want to feel and I don't want to feel. What do we do about that? An opposition, always, you have to do something. You must do something in an opposition. It is, again, unrelenting. You know, we cannot do something in a square and it can be really hard and it can suck, and then then the square's over, we can say, oh, glad that's over. I'm still doing the same stuff, but the square's over. Oh, that was an opposition. You are forced. Something outside of you is compelling you. So what do? We stay open. We integrate that opposite thing into our being. Hey, I want passion. I want peace. How do we integrate passion and peace? Well, we integrate them like this. And we have a nice, yummy, passionate, peaceful engagement in ice cream with our honey on a bench overlooking the lake at sunset, and it's peaceful. And then we look over to him or her, we kiss her, and there's the passion amidst the peace, like that. It takes a little work, it takes a little imagining, but Uranus comes to oppose our Venus, and change is going to happen regardless. So how do we ride that wave? We open up and we say, okay, I'll find the peace within. I'll find my self-worth within amidst the change. That's what the opposition is asking for, an integration of apparent opposites. It's in your face. You must integrate it or you will be destroyed. What about the inconjunct? Let me end with that one. The inconjunct. You know, a lot of people, like, you get the solar fire and you have the hit list, and I could talk at length about the semi-sextile and the sesqui. Let's just deal with these ones for now. Time's running out. The inconjunct is very, very, very important, because the inconjunct is asking us in some way to give up, release, let go of, change some part of us that is really familiar and that we might be comfortable with. The inconjunct is asking us for adjustment. And so, you know, maybe we're a Sagittarian and, you know, we just kind of do whatever we want to do because we're Sagittarian and we're free, and, you know, we want to go play because, you know, who needs responsibility? And that's just the way we are, because, you know, hey, we're a Sagittarian. And then say something like Uranus in Taurus comes to inconjoin comes a quincunx, our sun in Sagittarius. And whoops, see, those ways of thinking that you can just be all happy-go-lucky all the time is really hampering your style in your in the change that is needed regarding you not only feeling worthy, but in you getting grounded and getting solid and getting real. So Uranus in Taurus conjoins the Sagittarius sun, and that Uranus in Taurus is asking for a whole lot more sustainability than that Sagittarius sun might be used to. Great! That's magnificent! That's wonderful, because the lesson there says, hey, you can still be your freedom-loving self, just do it with a little more wisdom, maturity, and practicality. So, it can be frustrating. The inconjunct, it can feel like things are just messing with us. We could just be like, ah. So what do? We adjust that and know that it's not always about us. We've got to do some work, got to do some healing to free ourselves from the confines of that challenging situation. So, how to consciously engage hard hits from the outer planets? It's knowing what the planet wants. It's knowing what in your own chart is being triggered and what that really wants. What the evolution of that Venus, what the evolution of that Saturn in your own chart is really about. What you are here to learn. What are the highest possible expressions of your natal planets? Whenever they're getting triggered by anything, no matter how hard it is, we're being asked to always come to the best of all possible expressions of ourself. So, I believe that concludes my monologue. Does anyone have any questions for me? Don't all jump in at once. Okay, now go.
Well, Ryan, it's Linda here. Just wanted to thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Just wanted to ask you a personal question. Like, you have so much energy. And so, yeah, just wanted to make that comment.
Energy, yes, that's...
Yeah, like I was starting to get a bit tired like about 10 minutes ago, but wow, wow, it's fantastic.
It's Leo moon in the 3rd house.
Ah, Leo moon.
Yes.
What about Mars?
My Mars is intercepted. I don't like to talk about it too much.
All right. Okay, a bit too personal. Okay, any questions from our audience?
I don't have a question, Ryan. I just wanted to say how much I enjoy your presentations and how much I come away with. I have Uranus conjunct my North Node and opposite my Mercury, and you've given me a lot of information to use to discover what's happening. I'm fine. It's all happening inside, kind of, but it's good. And I love your lectures. I love how you teach.
Aw, you're a sweetheart. Well, thank you so much. And, enjoy that Uranus transit. Again, we're always being asked to break free and be true and be authentic whenever Uranus triggers anything. And for all we know, it could be time for you to come out with a little more of your own professional astrology. But we'll just have to see about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Somebody just wrote something in a chat. Saturn, Pluto, and South nodes sitting on my Mars, part of a grand Earth trine involving Saturn and Pluto. Yeah. What are we talking about? We're talking about courage. We're talking about strength. We're talking about not allowing ourselves to be beaten down by the strictures and structures of the world. And you, Christine, are being asked to be incredibly strong and powerful. But then we say, oh, Saturn, Pluto, and South Node sitting on the Mars. So what's also being asked? Well, I'd probably want to say, well, where, what house is that transiting Pluto, Saturn, South Node? It's in the 5th house. Well, then you're being asked to open up to community right now. Oh, is that what you're doing? I think that's what you're doing right now. To reach out online and into technology there in the 11th house and seek some healing there with transiting North Node and Cancer there in your 11th. So with the 5th house too, and not to get too long on this, but with the 5th house, we're always being asked to find what's really true about our joy, about what our self-expression really is. And so with Saturn, Pluto, and South Node there, I can imagine the possibility of that being really hard. And so how to do the necessary work of breaking free, finding our passion into what really makes us happy. There's a call there to find your right spiritual healing groups, to find your right people, because ultimately you can't do it all alone. Yeah, Neptune's also sitting on your descendant and ready to conjoin your Venus, your spiritual power, your creativity is coming out into the world. So you're being asked to trust and have faith and to find those individuals who are your spiritual inspirations, and not to allow your energy to be leaked by the dreamers and addicts who want to suck the life out of you. I mean, not that I really know. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks everybody for playing along. I really appreciate you being here in support of me. And feel free to check out my website at www.ryanevansastrology.com. And we can get really specific with all this stuff we talked about today if you wanted to purchase a reading from me. So feel free to do that. And other than that, you all take very good care and remember that consciousness, according to psychologist Fritz Perls, consciousness is curative.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.